Good evening. Just gone past 7 o'clock Queensland time here in Australia, and just gone past 10 o'clock in the morning in the UK for our UK listeners who watch every Thursday night. Our friends in New Zealand, 9 o'clock at night, and Dreaming the New Dream. And my co-host in the bottom right-hand corner, juliachai. And in the top right-hand corner is Greg Williams, and Greg's in his little wave there. And so tonight, Greg's going to bring on board his knowledge, wisdom, and understanding of QiGong and all its attributes. And that's the new book, is it?
Yep, this is the new book that Greg has been working for many years on, and it's got a picture of it's called Awaken the Chi Within. It's got a beautiful dragon. We're on the dragon line here. We've got the tigress, which hopefully Greg will tell us more about today.
Well, Greg, welcome to the studios.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, very good. Got your earthen colours there, your shirts.
Yeah. Just the intuition for the night.
So you're a Brisbane boy?
Oh, kind of. Always coming in and out of. So it's going overseas.
Oh, we all do that, don't we?
Yes.
Bloody brilliant.
Yeah.
So my co-host here, Julia, she's run across you many times, hasn't she? Right? In the world of QiGong. So Julia, you want to take over from here and bring Greg on board with his knowledge that he's going to share. And what's that, 420 pages or 380?
500.
500. Oh, that's a lot of writing, isn't it?
Yes, a lot of writing.
A lot of knowledge coming through. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's why I was very keen to. I was delighted when I met Greg
about your earth heavenly connection. It's how many of us are walking around, you know, with our head in the stars and our bum on the earth, or our feet on the earth. So,
and I think that's the key. I think that's the key revelation, certainly for me. And I mean, I grew up Catholic, and you know, with the Bible, before you can read, it's basically prophets are all talking to these angels, they're ascending, but you know, that was all hundreds and hundreds of years ago. I remember when I first started reading QiGong books, it was all this concept about the human being a bridge between.
Like to call him the sovereign now, the sovereign of this realm that we possess. But what QiGong takes it a step higher than medicine, and they go and right here in the center of the brain, when the brain is fully expanded, our Yuan Shen, which is our original spirit, expands to the full potential. I like to see this as a star. This is our own personal star. And so when this opens up, we expand into the infiniteness of the universe. We become.
So you're talking about the third eye, the pineal gland.
Yeah, the third eye. I like to call it the one eye, because it's like when these two eyes join as one. This is actually the dragons, the tigress again. The left is the dragon, the right is the tigress. When they join as one focus, as oneness, and we stop seeing the material realm, we stop seeing things as material. Everything is basically chi. You know, to use a metaphor, if I may, particles. People may understand them as particles, but they vibrate, if you will, and then they expand more and more and more to the point that they don't exist anyway. Everything, you know, the Taoists and the Buddhists will all, and there's probably the Sufis and the Gnostics will all tell us that the universe is totally and utterly empty. So at the end of the day, you know, when we want to change ourselves, for example, sickness is just chi tight, and you know, our mind holds things tight, and it may be in a particular channel. So the understanding in Chinese medicine that everything is fundamentally empty, in QiGong that things are fundamentally empty, it's a lot easier to move illness and mental emotional problems. Yeah,
it's a secret, isn't it? That's why you're here, Greg, isn't it? That's why he's here tonight.
Yeah.
You're saying that the body can heal. It's just,
yes.
It's a case of just following your gut instincts, your intuition.
Yeah.
Being in a state of mind and not buying into being led by someone else.
Yeah, and also being true to your own nature. The Taoists talk about, and I think the Buddhists also will talk about, one's true nature resides in the heart. So all of us, every single human being and plant, animal, everything, every one of us has our own individual unique nature, and that's in our heart. So if we follow that, it's our own unique path to Earth. Primarily, first we've got to go to Mother Earth. You know, the planet's forgotten Mother Earth. We're really not doing terribly nice things there at the moment. So if we wish to get to the stars, which is a lot of us do, we talk about going to heaven and stuff, and that's where we all want to go, because that's bliss, of course. But if you want to see where the heavens or where the light is, or if you want to use the word God, if you want to see where God is, it's in the earth, it's in the plants, it's in the animals, it's in the insects. So first we must go into earth, and earth is our root. So in QiGong we talk about through our pelvic floor, which is the root chakra, the root, and our underneath our feet. You probably can't see the feet, but this place in the foot, it's called bubbling spring. So when we stand on the ground, QiGong likes to do standing meditation. Standing, it really works the kidneys. So when we stand on the ground, this part of the foot is called bubbling springs, and then the heels also must ground into the earth, and that way we drop tips get cold, tippy toes. You're talking about children. Children have a kidney full of what we call life gate energy, gates to life, and it's I suppose the closest in Western medicine it might be adrenaline. So they've got a lot of energy, and they can get all that energy going, and so the energy can go into the tippy toes. So that idea of being on your tippy toes and
yeah.
Whereas when we get older, a lot of our energy starts to leave our tippy toes in our lower belly. We Taoists always keep our energy in our lower belly. There's another saying in Taoism, we're always returned to the ground. So if we lift off the ground too much, we'll always be brought down to the ground. It's a return to Earth Mother always. But what adults start to do is they start growing into their 20s, 30s, 40s and 50s. All that energy, that life gate
I switched myself off so that you can concentrate on you guys. Alison, Tom, and Katrina, can you just come through to say if you're getting us now, if that's possible? Yeah. Just you're on Radio FM88, broadcasting from Springwood in Brisbane, going live on the radio, on the web, and on the app. And oh, good now. So it's me. Okay. So if I take myself out,
Can they hear me?
oh, it's only when I take myself out of the picture.
Oh.
Because you're the host.
Yeah.
So you stay in the picture, am I right, Arlie?
Okay. So that's me. Okay. That's only because I've muted your computers so that you're coming through the studio microphones.
Oh yeah, Tom's saying that. Okay, now lost
Yeah,
you for a while. So hi Tom, thanks for letting us
Hello,
know.
thank you.
And Alison's done the same. Okay. So
Okay. So
learning
back
all
to-
the time. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, basically, well, we were up to the animal spirit Paul, who lives in the lung.
Hang on, we might have to start again. Don't you think?
No.
Hey?
Did
I
they
think we probably have to introduce Greg just in case they couldn't hear anything.
at all?
Saying.
Nothing.
Yeah.
No, it's only when I took myself out. So because I was busily looking up your website and bringing snippets from the website, putting them down the bottom there. So when you were talking, I was actually bringing the context of putting up there. So there's
All right. So I'm going to just read something about, you were just talking about the triple heater. I'm just going to read something from Greg's book and then we'll comment on that, okay? So it's the virtue of heaven finds the central path of harmony. And it talks about the food and drink enter the stomach, correct, in the middle heater, where they get refined into pure essence by the spleen. This pure essence from chi rises up to the upper heater, where the lung distributes it all around the body. Yeah? And then it talks about the pure chi overflows inside the channels to work and activate and nourish the inner organs. So that's like the earth mother chi.
Yeah, the deeper, the richer stuff. Yes, that's
richer
right.
stuff,
Yeah,
and the rough one goes outside
to protect.
So you're just talking about the triple heater and what your Japanese, the twin masters taught you. So how old were you when you found them, and how did you find them? Tell us about that journey.
I was in my mid-30s. How did I find them? Well, basically, many years ago with my ex-wife, we lived in Cairns, and I used to go to a little old Chinese and lady and man for acupuncture, and they said I should go and study in Beijing. So we wrote 3 letters, one to Beijing, one to Nanjing, one to Shanghai. Anyway, Nanjing turned out to be the most friendly, so we went up to Nanjing, did a year with them, and then I basically felt that it was probably a bit easier to go to Japan because I already spoke the language. So I contacted 3 different associations, and my colleague Michael Herman, he basically said, "Can you read and speak Japanese?" And I said, "Yes." He said, "Well, okay, off you go." So I jumped on the plane the next day and I was gone.
And how long did you have to study with them to learn what you?
I was with them for 2 years. So I would work in the afternoons as a tennis coach and an English teacher and even a translator at one stage, and then go to them in the mornings. And I'd also go to their monthly, they'd have big all-day Sunday workshops twice a month. So I'd spend that with the all Tokyo, all Japan. So they all come from everywhere. And I was, most of the time I was the only foreigner there. Michael had already come home by the stage.
So from these twin masters, what was the sort of most fundamental life-changing thing that you learned from them?
Well, basically just to view the world and in particular sickness, illness, in terms of the yin-yang 5 elements and the triple heater system, and be able to gauge it through the pulse because they're very, very strict on pulse.
So they basically they make sure that you are actually able to read the pulse. And
Yeah,
understand it and,
yeah.
you know,
They're
I
very, very
understand that
serious about it.
you
Yeah.
can, you can like read 60 different channels or something.
Well, it's not so much about, as I was saying before. We kind of, yes, you can read the different, you know, this organ does this and this organ does that, and basically, so the pulse at the moment, see, my pulses, because I'm on radio and it's nighttime, the lights are very, very bright. My pulse is sort of rah, 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 like that, which means
That's your heart, basically.
well, it's going up into the heart for sure, and because this requires a certain amount of proactivity, the liver's also pumping. So that's forcing this yang energy to rah, rah. So really, particularly at this hour, where I'm probably normally getting ready for bed by this stage, you know, the yin needs to pull it all down, because night is about yin, night is about sleep.
And that's what a lot of people don't understand, is that the energy is, it needs to move down for us to be able to go to sleep, just like nightfall.
Yeah, exactly. It's peace. See, the whole planet's craving peace. They sort of think they want excitement, but really peace is what we all want. When you actually feel peaceful, which means you're all this yang energy from your head, your frontal lobe, and your heart, and your liver, which we locate here energetically, all comes and sits nice and peacefully down in your kidneys and your lower belly. And once that's all sitting there, we have this feeling of tranquility, peace, that everything is just perfect, everything's fine, you know, like just. And then you start hearing, you can hear the breeze blowing through you can hear the leaves falling out of the trees, and the, you know, and the birds, you can hear their melodies. It's, you know, it's that state. I'm sure everyone's felt it at some stage in their life when time stops. And time is also an illusion, so it does stop. So yeah, that peace when everything just sinks down into your lower belly, which we call this. So in terms of the heaters, the lower heater is the kidneys down underneath the belly button, which you probably can't see me, but so yeah, and then the middle heater is here, and then the upper heater, and then we go into these fields. So that we've got these. The head is the heavens within. The middle. So I can stand up. The middle is the human, and then the lower is the earth. So we've actually got three dantians, they're called in Chinese, and chi fields, if you will, spirit fields. And
then the three triple heaters is how the energy flows through those three.
Yeah, the triple heaters is a bit like if you've got the heavens, which is the stars, and you've got the real deep core of the earth, it's that ecocosm that runs in between. The sun is the heart, which shines down into the kidney waters to warm the waters up. Because if the sun doesn't get down, we end up getting a cold lower belly. We get cold feet, urination problems, sexual problems, bowel problems, all that stuff in the lower heater goes. And likewise, if the water doesn't come up into the clouds, which is our lung, like a canopy which holds it, that then cools the upper heater. So if our water doesn't come up to cool our upper heater where our heart sun is, we end up getting anxious and insomnia and flushes, and we get all we can't breathe and shortness of breath. And
so when we do cloud hands and Tai Chi, are we just helping that?
Oh, definitely, yeah.
From the middle to the upper.
Yeah, moving it around, no doubt, yeah.
And then when we're doing this kind of stuff, so we're encouraging what the dragon energy, just in case people haven't heard the dragon energy.
Yeah, so we started, yeah.
And then the tiger would be this kind of jumping or bouncing into the
pouncing,
earth.
Bouncing
down into the earth.
Yeah, pouncing. I like to see her pouncing from a big rock in a big mountain, those big Chinese mountains in the sky, and she comes down, and particularly in terms of body movement, the big paws are like this. So in Tai Chi, for example, I like to really get the elbows into it and the lightness of the fingers. And when I'm working on people on the table too, it's very, so the elbows and the knees on the yin channels are related to water. Okay, so in Tai Chi, they always say bend your knees. And we also say your elbows are always heavy. Okay, you got to keep this up. This is your heavenly connection. But the elbows are heavy. So this helps your posture between heaven at the crown and earth at the root chakra. So this elbow and bent knees help you drop into Earth Mother, and then the lightness of the fingertips helps you lift into the stars. Yeah.
And so you, I mean, obviously you treat a lot of people. What is it you get most frustrated with? Not the new ones, but the ones that have been coming over years and years. What is it that we need to change to be more?
I don't get frustrated anymore. Actually. I used to. Well, I suppose, and it's funny. The patients I see now are really good. Actually, I quite like. They're quite aware and self-aware, but the thing is, I mean, the two aspects of what I like to do, treating and teaching. One aspect in China is called life cultivation. So we do. It's good that we do our own exercises at home: yoga, tai chi, whatever, walking, gardening. If we do them properly with posture and breath, it's QiGong. Everything's QiGong. Qi is qi, which is life force. In Christianity, it's actually the Holy Spirit. Life force in science, it's electromagnetic energy. But really, it's quite mysterious. So if we're doing things, and Gong just means doing, conscious doing. So QiGong just means conscious doing with Qi. So if you do your gardening, your permaculture, your house building, your cooking, you're doing QiGong. So if we do them with awareness, we do a practice. That's what I want people to really do. I think we really, in this day and age, we need to get away from our iPhones and our madness and all our stresses and every distractions, and get back into what I call UR, universal intelligence, not AI, artificial intelligence. We need to go back to the big universal intelligence and tap into that. And that's the only way we're going to be happy, really. The more you go into distractions, the more you're not going to. I forgot where we're going with that.
That's very good. You're taking us away on the ride. We're on the magic carpet. Yeah, you took me on the magic carpet right there. Hey, I remember going into Hong Kong to Hong Kong Island, and Hong Kong Shanghai Bank was building a new big floozy of a building. And the Feng Shui priests came in and told them they had to rearrange the actual entrance to the building.
Yeah.
Because the dragon and the tiger weren't in harmony. So as the tide came in, or waters came in with all the energy, all the money coming into the bank, it'll come through the bank and then come sliding back straight out. So all the money was going back out. And that's why the dragon and tiger.
They weren't kissing.
Yeah, they weren't intercoursing. There you go.
Well, they might have made their 3% or 5% interest on it, but the money was certainly leaving their bank.
Yeah.
So, so the Feng Shui priests come in, and they uplifted the actual. They created probably 3-story high internal atrium, so that people could actually flow through the bank underneath to go out to the other side where the buses, double-decker buses go and all that stuff. And if you go there on a Sunday, that whole area underneath there is just packed with Filipino housemaids, and they go there for their picnics. But so whilst that's the flow of all the people flying between the two major roads that run parallel, and of course the one that's on the southern side is facing the ocean. They've actually turned, so you come in underneath that humongous big atrium, and then the entrances then were facing on the northern side rather than, the eastern side rather than the southern side. So you actually, you came in, if you came in from the ocean and you came into the building, then you sort of virtually turn right to go into the building.
Because east is aligned with dragon, west is with the tigress.
Yes,
we do a bit of a flip over down here, but east and west I think hold their directions. Yeah, but you've definitely, with our houses and like my house that I bought, which is by the way for sale at the moment. I've got a clinic on the roof, registered and everything. But when I first walked into the property, which was just a little old Queenslander at those days, it was almost a north-south facing with the energy would just come down. I could feel it. And with the trees all around the yard, I thought, I'm getting it. And then I built a bridge up the road with a big alien ship on on the roof with a spiral staircase. But basically my entire property has this flow of energy. So particularly having a clinic up there when I've got sick people coming in, some people bring some pretty wild stuff into my clinic, I'll tell you. You don't want them, yeah, she sends them to me. You don't want them hanging around. In the old days when I didn't know what when I didn't know what to do with them so much, they used to come down my window at night occasionally and stuff, and it wasn't very pleasant. But now my property, and I've cleaned it up, and I've got, it's almost like, and also just another dream I'll try and relate without giving too much away. But my next door neighbour, who anyway, he wasn't the nicest person you ever met. I saw him in my dream. He came back through the fence, and I was actually standing there, and someone was shooting a rod at my little left toe. Anyway, I went up and said, "What are you shooting at me for?" And they said, "I'm not shooting at you. I'm shooting at that thing trying to get in the back of your thing." So what I do is, what I do to myself when I'm treating myself is I hold my pulse, and with my mind, I direct my focus around my body. And instead of using a needle or these blunt needles I actually use instead of pointed needles for my QiGong treatments, I place my mind on channels and hollows, and that will change my pulse. And I've then got a combination of yin-yang 5 elemental hollows that I connect up, almost like stars connecting up. And then when I get the right combination in accordance with the theory that my teachers taught me and I've learned in books, old 2,000-year-old books, my body will change. And I'll often go into my things, when things move out of my body, the body will start moving quite fast. And
so if you treated the body like a constellation, energy, the body like constellation, and you're reconnecting it to the universal chi that can then flow through and unblock it and fill up.
Yes.
Necessary, is that kind of
Yeah. Basically, we have blockages. So, in a sense, if what we need to do, just one word that we've sort of lost over the ages, the word virtue. In Chinese, it's de. If anyone knows the Tao De Jing, which is the canon of virtue, and by Lao-Tzu wrote it. But virtue is this. Normal people, the average person, goes to the temple and does good things in society and gets virtue. That's how we've often seen it. As you said, do good things within. I was a Catholic too once, but the other side, for the practitioner, what we actually do is we quite literally bring light in from the heavens, the stars. Quite literally, we open the crown up by opening up spaces inside our channels, and so if you open up spaces in here, the light just wants to come in. It's just natural. And on the other side of the equation too, from Earth Mother, the source chi, like the source of the universe, is in Mother Earth's womb. And all this is within us as well. So our lower belly is synonymous in Dantian with the womb for both men and women alike. Of course, women are more attuned to it because they actually have a physical one, but we men too must start attuning to our lower Dantian and stop looking for this old fella in the sky who's never really there, because he, if you want to call it about God, is in all the plants, the animals and the trees and everything. That's where you're going to find divinity. Then you can, fly into the heavens as with the dragon. Yeah.
Fascinating, isn't it? Very brilliant. Do you make herbal medicine as well?
No. My herb, actually, I do use one herb, and I burn it on the skin. That doesn't actually go in it. It's called mugwort.
Like in Harry Potter.
Yeah, the old witches used to use it. Yeah.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah. So we burn it in certain places. For example, one usage that I do on every single patient. Once I've balanced up the yin-yang 5 elements, triple heater there, 12 channels, 8 extraordinary spirit channels and everything, and realign them between heaven and earth, I flip them over. And then I do these tiny little rice grain moxa. They're only you roll them and they're only the size of a rice grain. And you stand them up on the back, with a little bit of dab of water, and I pulse them to get the exact location, which is the back of the organs. So once the 5 elements are balanced, I return the body to a state it was in when you were 1 to 7, when you're a little child. So when you're a little kid in that first stage of life, it's like the portal to the root chakra, the portal to Earth Mother is just fully open, and this energy is just flooding into them. That's why they're so vital, growing their brain, organs, bones, and all. So what I try to do in the clinic is return my patients to that stage. Thereby, their organs are fully open, ready to absorb this very hot herb, which I burn on their back. And quite literally, the organ will just suck it in and replenish. It's like going down to the petrol station, filling up your spaceship, Yeah. Your spirit ship, actually. But yeah.
Like a big dose of vitamin D. You're just giving them
everything
you can possibly get off.
D, the whole lot.
Yeah.
Whatever it needs, because it'll convert it to what it needs. Yeah.
I know a number of ladies who are going through menopause. Would they be best to send them on to you?
Why not? Yeah. Menopause is a very interesting. I've written quite a few chapters on menopause. I started writing about the male side of things because I actually practiced, Taoist QiGong, particularly the male side. However, I was sort of compelled to cover the female side as well, as one should in a book, to get a balance. But being a male, it was very hard, so I had to ask a lot of my friends, female friends, etc. But I've covered quite a few chapters on menopause. Menopause is I think, when a woman cultivates herself through her life and gets to that stage, which the ancient Chinese used to say was 7 by 7. Up until about 7 by 2, you get your they call it heavenly dew, DEW, which is that coming of age. And then at 49, it's supposed to turn off or thereabouts. But I think if a woman nourishes herself and cultivates herself, then when she reaches that age, I remember a teacher at college once said it's basically within the central, it's called the Great Thoroughfare, the blood from the womb, where it's no longer needed, rises up into the heart to nourish the spirit, so that the woman can then begin to become that wise elder in the tribe. So as she gets older into becoming a grandmother, then she's got the spirit is nourished so that it can understand the ways of the tribe and thus help bring the children up and stuff. Yeah. So it could actually, I think our society, our fundamental problem with that side of it, Chinese medicine really says when a woman is menstruating or pregnant, and particularly the month after pregnancy, she really must rest. And that's what our bosses don't get. There's probably a few women going, yeah, on that one. But, when a woman has to go to work and menstruate, because menstruation is, I have my view on menstruation is that blood is a very, very heavy fluid that must be moved. Now, it's being moved. A lot of Chinese medicine might say it's the heart, but what I think it's the heart energy must come down. So the heart energy must come down into the kidneys, which is fire, down in our kidneys, which we call life gate again. So I think the key to Qigong is life gate. So once you've got that fire down there, it does all the work down there, from menstruation to sexual, which is sexual, to urination, etc. So if she's using all that fire outside, working in the company and helping, run that all that stuff out there, the energy isn't getting down into her body, which is pretty heavy work. And that's really a patriarchal thing. I think most of our companies are run by patriarchal sort of mind frames.
That's probably the force of keeping up with the Joneses is now a game of Monopoly, isn't it? So paying the bills. So what are you suggesting? They have at least a good month after their pregnancy?
I have heard it said by Chinese teachers, one herbal teacher in particular at college, it can be quite devastating to a woman's body if she goes straight back to work after pregnancy, because the body takes so much, that baby takes so much out of her body.
Yeah, but I've also heard that, and I was working in Singapore when I had my first child, so they still do that, doing the herbs and staying at home, not working. And they say that is also because the woman's body regenerates itself during that period. So if you've had chronic illnesses before the pregnancies, this is actually the chance when a lot of people can actually not have those illnesses anymore.
Yes.
The whole body is recalibrating.
Yes.
But if you're working, then that doesn't happen.
No.
So it's actually a really good chance,
Yeah.
good opportunity, once in a lifetime, or every time you're pregnant, for a complete overhaul.
Yes.
So what are you suggesting? Yours is a natural way of doing things and using the whole body and its energy to the whole cosmos,
Yes.
as opposed to what's really a chemical-based solutions Western medicine provides.
Yeah. Yeah. Basically,
Sorry, I'll rephrase it. The willow trees created the aspirin, so nature's medicine chest provided the actual antidote. But when it comes to a chemical compound, there's no life force in it. Whereas, and the life force is what we're part of. And you've just spoken about nature and everything else is that whole life force that's around us. There's no need to go to the big fella in the sky when it's all around us. It's that essence, that chi energy. I mean, in the movie Avatar, it's quite strongly provided. Became the largest revenue in a movie of all times because people responded to it. They knew that there was a soul connection to that particular movie, that everything around them is a relation, and whatever you eat goes through your body. So if a woman comes to you and she's going through menopause, do you actually do the actual healing on it and bring the 5 elements, get the heat sink, but also give her some QiGong moves, or what's the go?
That's something I'm hoping to. I definitely do the treatment, and it's often about flushing, in things like insomnia, anxiety, because all the heat, the body can't seem to, as this blood's rising, and there's a lot of heat in the heart. And it's about getting it back down into the kidneys again. Yes, I would love to be showing them exercises, but city life doesn't quite lend to that. That's why I'm actually moving to the country. I'm hoping to go up the north coast of the Andina. I can start teaching people this as well. So you talked about the frustrations of being a Chinese medical practitioner. Yes, probably one thing, they come in for a treatment and they don't come in, like Chinese is more preventative. So you come in before it happens, and you treat what you see, whereas Westerners come in after the fact when you've got it, which often it's like you sort of, what's the pool term? You're shooting behind the black ball or something, You're sort of scrambling to catch up instead of, always being ahead of the game. Health, people, service their car all the time, but they never service their body. So if you stay ahead of the game, stay before sickness comes, which is what we're about, and then, yes, you add that extra factor of, yes, if you're, for example, if you are flushing and insomniac and got anxiety, the idea is you've got to start to remove excess yang qi that's sort of catching on to channels in the upper and drawing it back down in the kidneys again with breathing exercises, with posture, with imagery, and and standing in the garden with bare feet on warm grass, for example.
So your book is about the dragon and the tiger. Is there any other animals in
There's primarily 5, and I picked them actually. It's funny, I get ideas, and I like to mix them into my Chinese medical classics, that i.e. the canon of difficulty, spiritual axis, and simple questions. Mostly they're the 3 classics I use, and bits from. But what I like to do is bring ideas in. I've been mixing with a lot of interesting people in my life, traveling around the world, and I always had these 5 animals in my head, and I didn't know where they came from, but I think they're actually feng shui. So,
what are they?
Yeah, what are they? So, okay, if we're in the Northern Hemisphere, I'll give you the Northern Hemisphere hit first. And I do have a couple of chapters dealing with the Southern Hemisphere difference. I spend a lot of time because I do Tai Chi in accordance with the directions. So if you're facing the equator, which is the fire direction, that's the phoenix. So the phoenix comes up the front and just comes up the fire element and just the firebird flies to heaven. Then you've got the tortoise, the dark black tortoise. So that's the red phoenix. The black tortoise is the kidney. So the kidney is the grounding, that slow, peaceful movement, the back wall and the house that protects phoenix flies in the front. And on the east side.
So which side does black tortoise go?
If you're facing the equator, which is the south in the northern hemisphere, I switch them down here.
Okay.
I switch the north and the south, which makes it really weird. But it's just, you just got to deal with weirdness when you're doing compass stuff with them. Okay,
so we're in the north.
We're in the north. Yeah. You're facing the equator, which is south.
Yeah.
And that's the fire direction of the phoenix.
Okay.
If you're facing, and then so behind you, you've got the tortoise with the big strong shell protecting and the grounding, and that's the kidney energy. That's the water. Okay. Then you've got to the east, west, left or right always confuses me. It's funny, left and right. To the east, you've got the dragon. So I think often it's depicted as it's like the ocean or something, and he just flies to heaven with this big sort of marching movements. And then on the western direction, like the mountains, you've got the tigress, and in the middle you've got snake, the yellow snake. So tigress is white, the dragon is jade or green, and in the middle you've got the yellow snake, and the yellow snake can then pivot in all directions. Yeah, so you can go this way, that way. So yeah, that's sort of how it was. But there are a lot of animals and there are different takes on the directions. That's not the only one.
We were talking toads the other day.
You
said you had a lot of toads coming in.
Yeah,
You've
toads.
done a bit of work with toads, haven't you?
No. No. There's a couple of people I know. The toad medicine or something, isn't it? I don't know. I was going to type that up. I was starting to type it all up, and then I realised this thing program automatically does captions. Yeah, so whatever you're saying was typed up anyway. I forgot about that. So we got just to recap there. So this is up north, facing south towards the equator.
Yeah.
You got the phoenix as the fire.
Yeah.
You got the next one is a black turtle facing.
So like just okay. The best way to understand it is just if you're in the north, and a lot of us are down under, so you have to spin it around. I like to see it as the fire direction, the water direction, the wood or the wind direction, and the metal direction, right? So if you see the sun always rises in the east and sets in the west. So where the sun rises is where the dragon is, and where it sets is the tigress.
Okay.
So that's always the same, east or north. Okay. So I just leave them as they are. However, the equator and the poles, they do a flip on us. So the orientation of the heat and the cold is different down under. So, and to confirm this, my Tai Chi teacher in Nanjing, China, always got me to start the form facing south, which means and I do the 108 form, I do the 108 yang form from him. So every movement of the 108 done repetitively always faces a certain direction. Always. So you basically are orienting yourself in with the universal compass, or the earth compass, even the universal compass. And then when I came down to Australia, I did the 108 Wu style, and he got me to face the other way.
Oh yeah, okay. Right.
So both cases, if you can see yourself, you're sort of, you can almost imagine yourself. I could almost, because I'd always do directions when I was in Japan, because I always went to Japan too, I could see where I was facing. I could almost be facing my house this way, and then I turn back. So always facing each other. And then all the directions then change accordingly, which becomes this compass whereby you can start navigating yourself. You've got this sense of direction.
Okay. So those two, dragon, tiger, phoenix, yellow snake, and black turtles.
And the black tortoise, yeah.
And the tortoise, I mean, in the old days, they used to use the tortoise shells to divine. The seers used to use them because the pattern on the back of the tortoise relates to the
oracle,
the oracle and the I Ching itself. So there's wisdom and the universal order.
Very old, that
one. The turtle as well. And they often say that the island Earth is actually on the back of the turtle. That's the anchoring kind of.
I think we saw that in Doctor Who or one of the, Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, I think.
And the Japanese one as well, based on the comes out.
And then America, of course, is called Turtle Island.
Is it?
Yeah, the Red Indians,
Oh.
natives call America Turtle Island. And now Aborigine people up north, the turtle is a totem symbol for a member of the tribe who's got that as a provider. So the shell provides a cooking vat or a washing vat, but the meat and the eggs and all that stuff is part of the providing. Quite strong symbolism, isn't it?
Yeah, in Chinese, it's often about longevity. The turtle represents longevity, which is always an aim of the Taoists.
And of course, Chinese are really deep into all this myth and mythology and superstition and whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And by taking on the chi of the animal, isn't it? It's all these different animals, they powder them up, whether it's the bloody rhinoceros horn or whether it's the elephant's tusk or if it's tiger balm and all that stuff.
I think that's the ones who are not being responsible for themselves.
Yes, that's another.
Buying medicine to, trying to do the shortcut. Oh,
yeah.
Don't approve of that.
Embracing. But the Catholics at the end of the day, every weekend, I mean, it's a cult, isn't it? Because they're drinking the blood and eating the body of Christ. I mean, that's quite funny, ritualistic, isn't it? Symbolically.
Oh, it's very, yeah. Yes.
You guys are recovering Catholics, so I wasn't the Catholics.
Don't go for it, it's fine. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of symbolism in it all. Rather than having to eat, the something of a turtle or this or the snake, rather than physically eating them, we take on the energetics in Qigong. So, we understand. Like for me, the tortoise, I've always been into. Actually, I've been more into the elephant, actually, funny enough. But similarities is they have this, particularly the elephant just stands on Mother Earth and is very still, and it's the idea of, being slow in life. The slower you are, the faster you get there. There's one story about the karate teacher and the student said, I want to become a black belt. How long will it take? And the teacher said 10 years. He said, I'll try twice as hard. He said, 20 years. So the idea is the slower you go, and also the idea of slowing time down, in terms of martial arts too. Often I don't think it's about, getting really fast, particularly as I'm getting older, because I can't anyway. It's about slowing down my mind and slowing down, the things around me so that I can react. I've got more time to react and just not even be in a dangerous situation in the first place. You can sense the danger. You'll be walking, you'll be doing something and you sense something, or you'll just turn left instead of right or something. And you just, the more you do Tai Chi, which is a martial art, the less, fights or dangerous situations you actually get into.
Because you're more present and you're more in the here and now.
Yeah,
so you know what is versus what you're speculating.
Yeah, exactly.
And you don't misinterpret because you can feel the other person's energy.
Yes.
So you don't get it wrong.
No.
You know exactly what's happening because your body is basically responding to it. It's not your mind.
Okay, so you brought up two countries here, Japan and China.
Yes.
Was there any other countries that you went to learn the process? I mean, apart from Australia.
Well, actually, I spent 2 years teaching Qigong at a resort in Thailand, writing my book too. So a big hunk of my book actually comes from Thailand, where a lot of foreign, eclectic, some of the most interesting people on the planet went to, from all over Europe, America, Mexico, and we'd all gather there and we'd dance and I would then teach Qigong and do a bit of acupuncture, Qigong medicine, should I say. I used to get up every morning, do my Tai Chi, find my spot in the restaurant up the back, get my coffee, and just watch everyone as I'd write. I used to love going to coffee shops and write in the morning, and I'd write for 2 hours, 2.5 hours. And I've given up coffee now, but
I was going to say, hey, what was that aha moment that took you to dream the dream of dreaming who you are now? What was that epiphany? What was that put you on that path? And
well, I don't think it was ever one. I was saying to Julie on the car on the way over, I felt like as a kid I was just walking around with my head in the cloud, all like, oh, where am I? You know, oh, what's this world I'm going in? You know, oh, you know, what's this place I'm at? I still feel that way.
It's still like, what am I doing here?
But no, I feel like I know myself a bit more now. At least I know what I'm here for. And that moment, that epiphany, really is. It just seems to be this one eternal moment, which is still happening right now.
Yeah.
And you know, that's like it's like it's like it just keeps happening and happening. And you know, yeah, and you know, I think one thing about the Book of Change you brought up, the I Ching people say, it's the only thing you can attach to, hold to, is change itself. You know, and if you know, when you start thinking your point of view is right and that's right, then you're wrong, because it's going to change. And you know, I would just have, and like that book of mine, there are probably 100,000 epiphanies in there. It's like and you know, and I just couldn't hold to any one of them because they just change. They change all the time.
Yeah, but that's like life, isn't it? I mean, the sun rises in the east and sets in the west, but during the course of the day, information is coming all the way through. That by the time lunchtime, you've had to be so flexible, so mutable to be able to change your thought pattern that you had in the morning to suit in the afternoon. I mean, in logistics,
that's why we forget ourselves sometimes, isn't it? That's why we forget ourselves, because we're just responding to all that, and then we have to come back to all that is not attached to any of that.
Yeah, well, I've had to learn that through international trade and logistics and transport. You know, never shoot the messenger. Yeah, because the person's coming to give you the message and say, 40 containers just fallen off the ship, Jeff. Is that your ship? I think, oh my God, what is it? So you have to look up. No, thank God it's not. And we haven't got any containers on that one. Thank you very much. Oh, what's going to happen to it? Oh, I'll find out for you. Okay, let me find out. It's been.
So what's the worst thing that's ever happened to you, container-wise?
Wolfie's going on strike.
Wolfie's going on strike in England?
No, here in Brisbane. Sydney and Melbourne, Adelaide. Oh, there's a huge, big Wolfie strike. Went for ages and ages. And then there was the power strike that went for bloody years. And we had this power shedding, and then Joe sacked him. And so we had a ship, spent 17 days out in Moreton Bay. Couldn't come in. So, you know, the ship could have gone on, but there was all these containers needed to be discharged and loaded. But the Wolfie strike, that was a big one too, because there was a rolling strike. So, you know, you had 16 unions on the waterfront. Your union might be in the Federated Clerks. You wouldn't turn up today, so all the other unions couldn't work, you know. Next day, the night watchman didn't turn up, so the rest of the unions couldn't work.
So it's rolling,
And, you know, and if you've got trucks, all those rail with 50 containers of cotton coming down, and all of a sudden the Wolfies have pulled a strike. Shit, what do you do?
When our body does the strike as well.
Yeah, what do you do? You know, you just got to work with people. You know, females are the best at working with people because they've young married mothers, and then they have their children, the first child, and they go down to preschool and they meet other like-minded females in the same position. So they network and they share and say, you know, Julia, could you look after, you know, Ben, for example, we've got to take James to the doctors. And so this sharing takes place, this nurturing, this tribal thing takes place with females.
That's Mother Earth again.
And a conjunction, isn't it?
Which we've really got to get back. We've got to bring the feminine, which is, we're getting back to the book here again. You know, at the moment, the masculine energy has been excess. So in terms of Chinese medicine, we talk in terms of having too much. It's always yin and yang. There's almost too much. If there's too much yang, there's not enough yin. There's too much yin. There's not enough. So what, you know, the world at the moment is very ungrounded. It's not in Earth Mother. We sort of got this. We want to overproduce, and in overproduction, we're going to take more sources out of Earth Mother, dig up more mining, you know, pollute we need more water to run the fire, the big system. And at the end of the day, we're going to run out of resources. We're going to run out of water. Our planet's going into this, you know, talking about, I don't like the word climate change anymore. It's more of a climate collapse even, you know, and Mother Earth, her entire chi system, Because as I said before, you've got this climate, internal climate collapse as well. If Mother Earth's climate, we got seasons aren't running the way they should. There's too many earthquakes, there's cyclones or whatever. It's also going to be happening in here too. We're going to be affected in here as well. So in terms of if the outside world, we pollute our oceans and we dig up all our resources and they're big holes in Mother Earth's belly, basically to me it's rape. If we keep raping Mother Earth, we're basically killing ourselves. We're killing our children, and we really got to start getting back and get back, bring that feminine back in, that nurturing, that motherhood, that bring that back in with the masculine, get the tigress, because at the moment the dragon's just flying, he's out of control, he's mad, he's gone psychotic, and the tigress needs to come up and say, listen, mister, come back down, which is here. So in terms of our own energy, even within, if we're sort of, you see a maniac, someone that's got mania, they've got this energy come here and they're like, and their eyes are at the back of their head and they're running around like this and they look absolutely insane. So actually internally, the tigress needs to come up from here, grab him down and say, listen, mister, come back to earth. You're ruining your mother. Because you're not getting to heaven either. You're just flying out of control. You're a storm. If we really want to get to heaven, we need to, the tigress and the dragon need to kiss through the tongue and excuse the expression, root through the root chakra, because that's where they connect, through the root chakra. So the basic, which is very much about sexual energy, and then the tongue. So proper sexual activity, which can be proper tantra, can be amazing. Proper sexual function is actually amazingly a lot more enjoyable than wayward sexual behavior. So if we start bringing a dragon and our tigress together down in our sexual organs and up in our tongue, then we become one again, and we bring, as Julia was saying today, I was saying, when I get to the stars, I'm gone. But she said, no, we're going to bring, the idea of Taoism is to bring heaven back to earth. If we can find peace on earth and harmony with our commerce and our business, doing it not just sustainably now, but regeneratively. We don't want to sustain, we want to regenerate. So our business, our commerce, our activities need to start, like permaculture is a good one. My friend, she's into permaculture. And actually, just to back up, my editor, Michael Leo, his name is, by the way, he, I actually, one of my chapters in there, I put all these activities we should do, and I put permaculture, cooking, etc., house building, etc., martial arts, etc. And he said, no, put the semicolon after permaculture. So it's almost like it's permanent culture. We need to recreate this culture within.
I see the play on words.
Yeah. So we need to, and I've heard some of our organic farmers, we need to get back into our little communities again. Start, big agriculture has just already, apparently, according to one film I watched, destroyed 60% of the world's soil. All the little organisms in the soil are dying because we're throwing chemicals on them. And also Western medicine, that's what they're doing they're doing this to the body as well. What's growing inside our body is just being killed. We're not organic anymore. We're dying. We're killing ourselves, and we really got to start going back to that. Life's a spiral. We don't go back to what we used to do. We go through our modern world in a spiral. I once saw it in terms of mathematics. Correct me, mathematicians if I'm wrong, but are linear. So it's sometimes the old traditionalists, they just go in a circle, same thing over and over again without any meaning. Yeah, I do this or whatever. And then the West, often it's just one straight line. There's no culture. It's just McDonald's and Kentucky Fried Chicken and iPhone 10 and it's just straight like this. But if you mix the line with the circle, you get this spiral. Like every new day is not the same as the last morning. Every day, all the seasons, we go through the seasons, a spiral. Next year's spring won't be the same as as last year's and the next and the next. So we're actually doing spirals, and if we're consciously moving through our life and being grounded and conscious with Earth Mother, which is basically coming back to, regenerative farming, permanent culture, where the wise women can come back in and actually, listen, say, Mystic, let's start looking after Earth Mother again. And then the men, and another thing, the word patriarch has been, patriarch, matriarch. The patriarch traditionally was the good father, the good male elder of the village who would look after the children and in my terminology, lead the village in the ways of heaven, whereas the matriarch would lead the ways in the ways of Earth Mother, of Gaia. And so together, a good matriarch and a good patriarch. But today, the word patriarchy has been demonized. It's which is really sad. Because, yeah.
I just want to throw something that's really strange out there because of your German heritage. Russia calls it, the motherland, Mother Earth, and most indigenous people. But in Germany, it's a fatherland, isn't it?
Well, that was only under Hitler. In fact, you'd be surprised that I get a German passport because my mother is German, not because my father is. So we actually do follow the mother. But yeah, with the Nazis, they went into Vaterland. But if you went further back, I don't think you'd have that there.
Is that right?
Yeah, I mean, if you went back to the Romans and the Greeks, and you went to Zeus and Demeter, they often have the Queen of the Harvest. She's like the mother.
Well, in England, there they have the harvest. It's in August. It's celebration. Demeter and Proserpine. Because when old Hades took on Persephone, took it down to his realm, and Mum got a bit pissed off, so she turned off the. Turned it off. Turned off the. Oh, Zeus had to go and get his brother and say, "Listen here, what's going on?" Oh, she's eating the promulgate, so she has to stay. Oh no, this is not going to work.
She stops smiling and being nice.
Okay, so she gets 3 months down there with Hades, and the other 3 months she's back with the mum.
Yeah, but that, again, that's the daughter, that's the child energy, the youth, the regeneration, the new growth.
Yeah, the darkness too, and that's talking about Hades, the dark energy. I think all of us humans, and I started talking. When you couldn't hear me. I was talking about the 7 humanimal demons, which is these 7 creatures that we self-possess ourselves when our natural animal spirit, which is the tigress that lives in our lung. So when our animal spirit, called Po in Chinese, Haku in Japanese, is perfectly healthy, then we become this shamanic, like this flesh, which is animal, starts to work properly and knows we can smell things. Animals can smell things. So the shaman just reactivates the animal spirit in health. But what happens is if things we perceive to be our family, our friends, our possessions, and things that we think are ours, or the way if things don't go right for us, then they split up into these 7 ugly things. And Feidu, for example, is flying toxins, which is anger. And it looks a bit like this. It's like it's sort of coming out, and that's anger and hatred. Then you've got one yin chue, which is yin bird, which is about anxiety and nightmares, and comes up and flusters away. And you've got chou fei, which is filthy lungs, which is about hopelessness. Oh, I can't pay the mortgage. Oh no, I can't do it. So what they do is they trick you into believing this is your mental state, whereas really your true nature is pure.
Yes.
And we get joy. And when they trick you, because that's what they want to do, they want to perpetuate their own life. So when they trick you, what they do is it's like they put a big straw in your kidneys and they just suck your life force away, and they cut you off from the source in Earth Mother, and they cut you off from the heavens as well. They don't want you to go to the light because they die.
And is that why it's so important to become a master of aware of your thoughts? And
yes.
Really.
And emotions. Yeah.
Not be that frog in the hot water that constantly thinks the same thing and then starts believing it and becoming it.
I mean, if you look at Genesis, it says that man shall have dominion over all the birds that fly and all the creepy crawly things. So really, man's really the lord of the animals. So
We are. We're very
in order to be
powerful.
lord of the animals, he has to have a relation and a connection with all those animals and all those life forms. So when you talk about the essence of the spirit within them, I mean, I can understand you're a natural shamanic person, aren't you?
Yeah, it's instincts as well.
Yeah. Intuition. I mean, I go for a walk every morning and I watch the dogs, you know. It goes without saying they'll always go to the power pole and have a sniff and leave their mark.
You can pick up a lot of information at the same time.
Yeah. And based on the scent.
You know, I think it's. I had this argument with a Taoist clerk friend of mine, which I won't mention his name. You probably wouldn't want me to. And I used to argue with him that the humans were the most dangerous animals on earth. And he go, and he eventually found in one of his scriptures and agreed with me. You know, we got the biggest claws and the biggest teeth. We got nuclear claws and teeth. Our teeth and claws are so strong now we can destroy the entire planet. You know, we've become, and that is actually, to me, talking about demons and demonic realms, that is the crossing for when our animal gets distorted, our inner animal gets distorted, and with our potential power that we create, we have the potential of absolute, incredible destruction, but also of incredible creation.
That was actually the theme of the Netflix movie, The Good Omen. So they kind of say that this human child of Satan is being born, and the archangels and archdevils are basically trying to wrestle over him. But in the end, he decides he wants to be a human, and he can basically stop the world and destroy it, but he decides not to. So,
oh, but like the Indian lady Kali, isn't it, the destroyer?
Oh, Kali.
Yeah, she's an internal destroyer, though. She gets the demons inside. And just getting back to that one, you know, a lot of people think, oh, the planet's not worth saving. We're a bunch of, you know, rat bags destroying the earth and everything. But, you know, grassroots and what's actually coming up through children at the moment. You know, there's so much incredible stuff. You know, some of the things you hear kids say now, and it's these little sprouts coming up in the garden. You know, but if you douse the whole human race with, you know, with chemicals and poisons, you kill all those little miracles. You know, so you know, I think it's. Yeah, human life is always very valuable, even if there are 8 billion overeating and creating too much waste, etc. We're still very, and of all the animals too, I understand dolphins are pretty wild, but they're in water. But particularly the land animals, we're the only ones that can plant our feet on the ground and direct the crowns of our crown chakra into the heavens. So we're actually half animal and half God, I believe. Humans are half animal, half God.
Yeah, traditional, half bestial, half celestial.
Yeah, half terrestrial, half celestial. We're amazing. We can be amazing.
My the parent company is called Celestial Industries. Hey, I asked that question about females and metaphors, but I was going to bring the masculine into it and say prostate. Big thing for fellas. Men. Yeah. What's a course of remedy for the boys?
Well, the boys' side, and that one I can speak of with experience. I actually, as a man gets older, he's got to be a little bit careful with his sperm, his ejaculations. If you let too much go as you get older, see, sperm, as well as menstrual blood, is made up of something in Chinese called jing, which is pure essence. Because you think about it, every single ejaculation and every single menstrual period is perhaps a little child. So nature channels the best of our essence into every one of those ejaculations, into every one of those menstrual bleeds. So for a man, you know, young boys, if young boys were taught at a young age, don't, you know, just restrain yourself a little bit and give them reasons why. In QiGong, basically the aim is to channel that essence back into the body. In particular, the standard is you draw it up. It sort of turns. turns into chi, which is sort of liquid, it's vapor, if you will, and it gets pulled up the spine over it, which is the dragon and the tigress. But really, it's creating a mental emotional state where you don't feel the urge to let it go. It doesn't mean you're not having sex. In fact, your sex is a lot better because you're not losing it. I find personally, every time I do lose it occasionally, it's like I don't have the urge for the next day or two. But by not losing it all the time, my potency is quite strong. Now, as part and parcel of all that, it's not just about keeping this retaining the sperm, but also keeping the focus down here in the prostate, as you called it, is basically it's up and in, but it's around right down here on quite literally the bladder, the hollow for the bladder. And I find myself when I get a little bit lost from the ground and I'm a bit, I got to do things 100 miles an hour and got problems and everything, I can find that the urination can get a bit scanty or even a little bit painful at times because I'm disconnecting from that. It's called CV3. It's called mid-extreme. Absolute extreme, CV3, Zhongji Chinese. Yeah, Zhongji it's called in Chinese. Mid-extreme. But it's a very powerful one. So it's really about. Also, another way I like to see it is when you're standing, if you sort of disconnect from here to here, you lose that connection down there, and therefore the prostate starts to go. So if you can reconnect with your lower belly, with your manhood, if you will, as well, it doesn't necessarily need to be sexual, but just to reconnect with your legs, your feet, and then you can get your chi back down there again.
Very good. Any other questions?
Yeah, so if you teach as well, so if people are international and they can't come and visit you,
what to do?
How do they get in touch with you? Are you doing online?
May do. I'm just starting to learn the online social media thing. I've been a bit adverse to it up to recently, but and I am moving my headquarters as soon as I sell my Brisbane home clinic.
Where's that, bro?
It's in Audley Grange area. It's up on a hill. It's a lovely place, but I want to get out of the city and create a nice little big round dome on an acreage up in the north coast hinterland and teach up there. International people, good question. Just contact me and we'll see where it flows, whether I
so over your website?
Chi Arts, QI, so Chi opposite of IQ, Chi, QI, Arts, ARTS, which is like performing arts, so the arts of chi.com.au.
And is that where they can buy a book as well?
Buy my book either through me. At present, Julia's daughter is fixing up my ebook, and once that's up, hopefully I'll put it up on Amazon. Otherwise, you probably got to get it through China Books in Sydney or Melbourne, or Relaxation Centre in Brisbane, my clinic in Brisbane.
You got the relaxation centre. You're very close to them, aren't you?
Yeah.
I've known them for a long time. Yeah. Lionel,
baby.
I knew him from the ballet. Yes.
Yeah, same here.
Yeah.
And you have a Facebook page as well.
I do. It's called Chi Arts, QI Arts. Yeah. So any one of those ways you can connect with me. Yeah. So basically, I'd like to start teaching more to an eclectic group of people, therapists, yes, practitioners who treat other people, particularly, but also people who want to self-practice. So, and that's sort of where I want to join up the therapist who treats others and the self-practitioner who treats self. That's sort of where I am in all of it. Yes.
We're going to have you back, mate. Yeah, it's very good, eh?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. You're very passionate and you can feel it. Yeah. Anything else? All good? We're always learning something here, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely. That's why it's great. And I hope you've enjoyed listening to us as well. Dreaming the Dream with Jeff and Julia, and our guest author of the book, Greg Williams, who you can contact over his website or through Facebook. And as you know, he is very passionate, and we all hope that we can all, link the celestial and the bestial and find harmony within each other.
Also, just another thing too, if you want to watch any of my videos, which I've just made on how to do breathing and stroking channels, I've just opened a YouTube channel as well called QiArts, QiArts. So if you want to go in there and have a look at them, I
don't have to type that up. That's going to be done anyway, automatically, isn't it?
Yeah. Everything's QiArts, QiArts.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Bloody brilliant, mate. Thank you. I really appreciate it. It's really lovely of you to make the trip to come.
Yeah, and thank you also for giving me the chance to. Yeah.
Oh, any friend of Julia's. She's got a good eye for bloody talent.
Yeah, I often find it's hard to get this stuff out in the world at the moment. So
Why is that? What do you mean?
One of my colleagues once sees a kinesiologist named. He said, the more sublime, the more subtle the practice, the harder it is for it to hold in the world. It sits there, and then it's just gone. Like if you see how the way I treat, I'm not even touching the body. Yet its effects can be extremely powerful. However, and the thing about that book is I've spent 8 years writing it. And towards the end, I was writing 5 hours a morning, solid writing. And it was just, I have rewritten some of those sentences, those paragraphs, probably over 50 times. And to me, it was a bit like carving a Buddha, and with the help of my extremely strict editor, Michael Leo, we spent thousands of hours together. That goes. He just didn't let me have it, unless I fought him. He said his favourite phrase was, "That's a new age wank." Anyway, if I didn't explain it, see, I got into the habit of not saying what I really meant because I didn't expect people to understand me. So when he forced it out of me, and he said, "Wow, that's amazing," and so he forced me to write it down, and then I spent the next years, which was 8 years, up to 5 hours a day at the end, of just carving, taking out all the excess and just throwing it away, and then putting into poetic flow. Yeah.
My mate, his name is Bill Harrison, and he wrote a book called Spiritual Experiences. And when I read the book, you could feel his energy in those words and those sentences and those paragraphs. That was him, to a T. He wrote the second book, and it went to an editor who's had PhDs in English literature and all that stuff, and she went through the book and editorized it. And then Bill gave it to me, and I said, "It's not you, mate. It's lost the power of the energy, or the power of the energy behind the words. It all evaporated. It's just another book sitting on the shelf, and nobody would come along to pick it up because there's no energy attached to it."
Editors are very important. You've got to get the right one.
Yeah.
And you also got to. That's why I've written three books. The first one was I would liken to a naive young 20-year-old just running around the world, thinking everything's whatever it is. And then the middle one, which he really edited, because he's actually quite a bit legalistic. He's also an architect, and so he really just anyway. So by the third book, I had to take it off him, and then so with his nice formatting, with his very, very strict, good formatting, I returned it back to like the first one. So it had his wonderful structuring in it, plus that what you were talking about, that which I had from the first one.
Your essence, that was in it.
Yeah. So it's got both. It's got his one. Without him, that wouldn't be in the world. So he was also the one that built my clinic. So.
Great. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Well, thank you for listening, everyone. We hope you enjoyed the show, and if you'd like to be on the show, or if you'd like us to find somebody who's dreaming the dream in an area that you're interested in, get in touch with either Jeff on Radio FM88 or myself, and we'll see what we can do.